close your eyes now and feel the warmth of this sacred moment as we gather here together in the spirit of thanksgiving. Let your breathing slow and your heart open as Jesus himself sits beside you, wanting to share what fills his heart with gratitude. Picture yourself in a quiet place, perhaps by the shores of Galilee, where the gentle waves lap against the ancient stones, and the golden light of evening casts everything in hues of amber and peace. Jesus approaches with that gentle smile, the one that has comforted countless souls across the centuries, and he gestures for you to sit beside him. Sit down, he says softly, his voice like honey and warmth. I want to tell you what I'm thankful for. And as he speaks these words, you can feel the depth of love that flows from his very being. The same love that moved mountains, that healed the broken, that conquered death itself. He looks out over the water, and his eyes hold the wisdom of eternity. Yet they sparkle with the simple joy of this moment. You know, he begins, his voice barely above a whisper, carried on the evening breeze. When I walked among you in flesh, when I felt the dust of Judean roads beneath my feet, I learned something beautiful about gratitude. The stars begin to twinkle overhead, as if heaven itself is listening to this sacred conversation. I am thankful, Jesus continues, for the weight of human experience, for feeling what you feel, for understanding the ache of loneliness, the sting of rejection, the weight of sorrow. His voice grows even softer, more intimate. For in experiencing these things, I could truly love you, not from a distance, but from the depths of shared understanding. You can almost feel his presence beside you, warm and comforting, as he shares what moves his heart. I am grateful for every tear I shed, he whispers, because they were tears of love for you in the Garden of Gethsemane, when the weight of the world's pain pressed upon me. Those tears were not just mine. They were for every moment of suffering you would ever endure. Night air carries the scent of jasmine, and somewhere in the distance, a night bird calls softly to its mate. Jesus turns toward you, and in his eyes you see infinite compassion. I am thankful for the cross, he says, and though these words might surprise you, his tone carries no bitterness, only deep, abiding love, for it was there that I could show you, in the most profound way possible, that no darkness is too deep, no pain too great, no sin too heavy for love to overcome. He pauses, letting these words settle into your heart like seeds in fertile ground. You see, he continues, gratitude is not just about the pleasant things, the easy blessings, the moments of joy and celebration. True gratitude, his voice grows even more gentle, finds beauty even in sacrifice, even in the difficult moments, because it sees the larger picture, the greater purpose, the eternal love that weaves through everything. As he speaks, you begin to understand something profound about Thanksgiving, something that goes beyond mere appreciation, something that touches the very essence of divine love. I am grateful, Jesus continues, for every person who has ever lived, ever breathed, ever hoped, ever struggled. For each soul is precious beyond measure. Each life a unique expression of my Father's creativity. The water before you reflects the starlight like scattered diamonds, creating a canvas of beauty that seems to mirror the depth of what Jesus is sharing. I am thankful for the children, he whispers, and his voice carries such tenderness that it brings tears to your eyes, for their simple faith, their ready laughter, their ability to see wonder in the smallest things. When I said, "Let the little children come to me," I meant it with every fiber of my being, for they remind us what the kingdom of heaven looks like. He tells you about a little girl from his earthly ministry. Her name was Sarah, and she had brought him a handful of wildflowers, wilted and crushed from her small grip, but offered with such pure love. Those flowers, Jesus whispers, meant more to me than all the treasures of Solomon's temple, because they came from a heart that loved without condition, without expectation, without reservation. I am grateful for the broken, he continues, his voice like a gentle stream flowing over smooth stones, for those who know their need, who reach out with trembling hands, who cry out from the depths of their pain. For it is often in brokenness that hearts become most receptive to love, most open to healing, most ready for transformation. You think of the woman at the well, of Zacchaeus in his tree, of Mary Magdalene with her alabaster jar, all broken in different ways, all made whole by love. I am thankful, Jesus says, as if reading your thoughts, for every encounter, every conversation, every moment of connection, for in each meeting of eyes, each touch of hands, each word spoken in love, eternity touches time, and heaven comes a little closer to earth. The night grows deeper around you, but you feel no cold, no fear, only the warmth of perfect love. I am grateful for the prayers, Jesus whispers, especially the desperate ones, the ones cried out in the middle of sleepless nights, the ones whispered through tears, the ones spoken in languages of the heart that have no words. Every prayer matters. Every whispered plea is heard. Every silent yearning is known and cherished. He speaks of the prayers of mothers, watching over sick children, their hearts breaking with love and fear. I am there, he assures you, in every worried moment, every anxious thought, every desperate plea for healing. Their love moves my heart. Their faith strengthens my purpose. Their trust honors my Father. I am thankful for the prayers of the elderly, he continues, for those who have walked long roads, who have seen much joy and much sorrow, whose prayers carry the weight of experience, the depth of wisdom, the beauty of endurance. Their prayers are like aged wine, rich and full of character. The gentle breeze carries with it the sound of distant singing. Perhaps angels joining this moment of thanksgiving. I am grateful for forgiveness, Jesus says, and his voice carries such relief, such joy, not just the forgiveness I offer, but the forgiveness that flows between human hearts when someone chooses to release resentment, to let go of hurt, to extend grace instead of judgment. Heaven itself rejoices. He tells you of a man who forgave his brother after 20 years of separation, of a woman who chose love over bitterness after betrayal, of a father who welcomed home a prodigal child. These moments, Jesus whispers, are among the most beautiful I witness, for they reflect the very heart of my Father, the very essence of divine love. I am thankful for the seekers, he continues, his voice growing even more tender, for those who question, who search, who wonder, who refuse to accept easy answers, for truth is not fragile. Love is not threatened by honest inquiry. Faith grows stronger when it wrestles with mystery, when it engages with doubt, when it chooses trust in the midst of uncertainty. You think of Thomas, reaching out to touch the wounds, needing proof, needing reality. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe, Jesus had said. But there was no condemnation for Thomas, only understanding, only patient love. I am grateful for every doubter who becomes a believer, Jesus whispers, for their faith is often the strongest, their love the most enduring. The stars wheel overhead, marking the passage of time, but this moment feels eternal, suspended between heaven and earth. I am thankful for the servants, Jesus says, for those who give their lives in small acts of love, who serve without recognition, who love without reward. The widow who shares her last coin, the nurse who works another shift, the teacher who stays late to help a struggling student. These are the heroes of heaven, the royalty of my kingdom. His voice grows even softer, more intimate, as if sharing a precious secret. I am grateful for the moments when heaven touches earth, when the veil grows thin, when my presence becomes almost tangible. In a hospital room where love triumphs over fear, in a church where hearts unite in worship, in a home where forgiveness flows like healing balm, in a garden where someone finds peace in prayer. I am thankful, he continues, for the beauty of creation that still speaks my Father's name, the sunrise that paints the sky in shades of hope, the flowers that bloom without anxiety, the birds that sing without worry, the oceans that roar with praise, the mountains that stand as monuments to majesty. All creation still declares the glory of God. You can almost hear the creation singing, the wind through the trees, the waves against the shore, the distant call of night creatures, all joining in this cosmic symphony of thanksgiving. I am grateful for seasons, Jesus whispers, for the wisdom they teach. Spring speaks of resurrection, of new beginnings, of life conquering death. Summer tells of abundance, of fullness, of the joy of growth and flourishing. Autumn, he continues, teaches the beauty of letting go, of release, of trust in cycles beyond our control. And winter, precious winter, speaks of rest, of waiting, of the faith that beneath apparent death, life is preparing for glorious return. Every season has its purpose, its beauty, its lesson of love. The night air grows sweeter, filled with the promise of dawn still hours away. I am thankful for music, Jesus says, and you can hear the smile in his voice, for the universal language that speaks to every heart, the lullaby that soothes a crying infant, the hymn that lifts weary souls, the song that brings back precious memories, the melody that expresses what words cannot capture. He tells you of David's harp, how it drove away the darkness from Saul's tormented mind, of the songs sung in prison by Paul and Silas, how they shook the very foundations and opened locked doors. Music, Jesus whispers, is a gift from my Father's heart to yours, a bridge between the earthly and eternal, a language that speaks directly to the soul. I am grateful for work, he continues, for the dignity of purpose, for hands that create, minds that solve, hearts that serve. I was a carpenter. His voice carries pride, not arrogance, but deep satisfaction. I know the joy of wood shaped by careful hands, of problems solved through patience and skill, of tasks completed with love and attention to detail. He speaks of the fishermen who became his disciples, of their calloused hands and patient hearts, of their willingness to leave familiar nets for an unknown calling. Work, Jesus whispers, when done with love, when offered as service, when performed with integrity, becomes worship, becomes prayer, becomes a gift to the world. The gentle sound of water continues its ancient rhythm, like the heartbeat of the earth. I am thankful for rest, Jesus says, and there's such peace in his voice, for sleep that restores, for Sabbath that renews, for quiet moments that refresh the soul. Even I needed rest, needed time apart, needed moments of solitude with my Father. He reminds you of the times he withdrew to lonely places, to mountain tops, to quiet gardens. Rest, he whispers, is not laziness, it is wisdom. It is acknowledging our humanity, our need for renewal, our dependence on grace in rest. We remember that we are not machines, but beloved children, created for relationship, for joy, for peace. I am thankful for stories. Jesus continues, his voice taking on the warm tone of a master storyteller, for parables that carry truth in simple wrapping, for narratives that touch the heart before they challenge the mind. I taught in stories because they bypass the defenses of the intellect, speak directly to the spirit, plant seeds that grow in their own time and season. He tells you again the story of the prodigal son. But this time you hear it as if for the first time, the pain in the father's heart during the waiting, the joy that exploded when the familiar figure appeared on the horizon, the celebration that knew no bounds. Every human heart, Jesus whispers, carries this story. For every soul is both the wandering child and the waiting father, both the one who needs forgiveness and the one called to forgive. The night deepens, but far from growing cold or frightening, it feels like a warm embrace, like being wrapped in divine love. I am grateful for food, Jesus says, and his voice carries memories of shared meals, broken bread, poured wine, not just for the nourishment it provides, but for the community it creates, the fellowship it fosters, the love it expresses. He speaks of the feeding of the 5,000, of how a little boy's lunch became a feast for multitudes. It was never really about the fish and bread, he whispers. It was about trust, about sharing, about the miracle that happens when hearts open, when people give what little they have, when love multiplies resources beyond all logic or expectation. I am thankful for the ordinary. Jesus continues, for common moments made sacred by attention, by presence, by love. The conversation over morning coffee, the laugh shared with a friend, the sunset noticed and appreciated, the kind words spoken at just the right moment. These, his voice grows tender. These are the building blocks of a beautiful life. You begin to understand that Thanksgiving, true Thanksgiving, is not about grand gestures or dramatic moments, but about recognizing the sacred in the simple, the divine in the daily, the eternal in the ordinary. I am grateful for growth, Jesus whispers, for the journey from seed to fruit, for the process that cannot be rushed, for the patience required to become. He speaks of the mustard seed, smallest of all seeds, yet destined to become a tree where birds can nest. Growth, he says softly, is often invisible, happens in darkness, requires faith in unseen possibilities. But I am always there, in the growing, in the becoming, in the gradual transformation from glory to glory. The stars seem brighter now, as if responding to this cosmic conversation, this divine outpouring of gratitude. I am thankful for home, Jesus says, and his voice carries such warmth, such longing, such love. Not just the physical shelter, though that is precious, but the sense of belonging, of being known, of being loved unconditionally. He speaks of the homes he visited during his earthly ministry, Mary and Martha's house in Bethany, the upper room where he shared that final meal with his disciples. Home, he whispers, is wherever love dwells, wherever hearts are open, wherever welcome is genuine. I long to make my home in every human heart, to be invited into the sacred space of your daily life. I am grateful for tears, Jesus continues, and this might surprise you, but his voice carries no sadness, only deep compassion, for they water the gardens of the soul, for they release what needs to be released, for they cleanse and heal and prepare for new growth. I wept, he reminds you gently, at Lazarus's tomb, not because I could not raise him, but because I felt the full weight of human grief, the deep love that mourns what is lost. He speaks of tears of joy, tears of relief, tears of overwhelming gratitude. Every tear is precious, he whispers. Everyone is seen. Everyone has purpose. In a world that often tells you to hide your emotions, I tell you that tears are holy water, sacred rain that nourishes both sorrow and joy. The night air carries the scent of blooming flowers, jasmine and honeysuckle, rose and gardenia, as if all of creation is joining this celebration of gratitude. I am thankful for healing, Jesus says, his voice carrying the power that once commanded storms to be still. Not just the dramatic healings, the blind receiving sight, the lame walking, the deaf hearing, but the quiet healings that happen every day. He speaks of hearts that heal from betrayal, minds that recover from trauma, spirits that rise from depression. Healing, he whispers, is always my desire, always my intention. Sometimes it comes in an instant, Sometimes it unfolds over years. Sometimes it waits for heaven. But healing is always coming. Hope is always justified. Love is always working for restoration. I am grateful for teachers, Jesus continues, for those who light candles rather than curse darkness, who plant trees whose shade they may never enjoy, who invest in futures they may never see. I was called teacher, rabbi, and I wore that title with honor, for there is no higher calling than to help another mind understand, another heart open, another soul grow. He tells you of the teachers in his own life, the rabbis who taught him scripture, the carpenters who showed him their craft, his mother who taught him kindness, his father who modeled integrity. Every teacher, he whispers, is a gift, every lesson an opportunity, every moment of learning a sacred exchange between souls. The gentle breeze continues, carrying with it what might be the whispered prayers of angels, the soft songs of heaven, the eternal symphony of love. I am thankful for courage, Jesus says, his voice strengthening slightly. For those who stand when it would be easier to sit, who speak truth when silence would be safer, who love when hatred would be simpler. He speaks of the women who stayed at the foot of the cross when the men had fled, of Stephen forgiving even as stones broke his body, of countless unnamed heroes who chose love over fear, courage over comfort, truth over convenience. Courage, he whispers, is not the absence of fear. It is love acting in spite of fear. It is faith taking the next step, even when the path is unclear. I am grateful for questions, Jesus continues, and his voice carries patient understanding. For minds that wonder, hearts that seek, souls that refuse easy answers, for those who ask why and how and what if questions, he says softly, are not challenges to faith. They are invitations to deeper understanding, bridges to greater truth, doorways to more profound relationship. He reminds you of Nicodemus, coming by night with his questions, of the woman at the well, whose questions led to the salvation of her entire town. Never be afraid to ask, Jesus whispers, for I am not threatened by inquiry, not offended by doubt, not disturbed by confusion. I am here to help you understand, to guide you into truth, to love you through every question, to every answer. The water before you continues its gentle dance, reflecting moonlight and starlight, creating patterns of beauty that shift and change yet remain eternally lovely. I am thankful for creativity, Jesus says, his voice warm with appreciation, for minds that imagine, hands that create, hearts that express, for art that moves souls, music that heals hearts, words that change worlds, stories that transform lives. He speaks of the creativity of his Father, who painted sunsets that take breath away, who composed symphonies of bird song, who crafted snowflakes, each one unique, each one perfect. When you create, Jesus whispers, you reflect my Father's heart. When you make something beautiful, you participate in the ongoing work of creation. When you use your gifts to bless others, you become partners with heaven. I am grateful for justice. Jesus continues, his voice carrying the weight of righteousness, yet tempered always with mercy. For hearts that burn for what is right, for voices that speak for the voiceless, for hands that work to set things right, for souls that cannot rest while wrong prevails. Justice, he says softly, is love in action, mercy applied, truth defended, hope extended to the hopeless. He speaks of those who worked to end slavery, who fought for civil rights, who defend the vulnerable, who speak for the oppressed. Every act of justice, he whispers, echoes my heart. Every stand for truth resonates with heaven. Every defense of the weak strengthens the kingdom of love. The night grows deeper, more intimate, as if the whole world has quieted to listen to this sacred conversation. I am thankful for memory, Jesus says, his voice gentle as a caress, for the ability to hold precious moments, to revisit loved faces, to carry forward lessons learned, to treasure experiences of love. Memory, he whispers, is one of my Father's most beautiful gifts. It allows love to transcend time, connection to outlast presence, wisdom to be passed from generation to generation. He speaks of the importance of remembrance, of the Passover feast, of the communion table. Remember me, he had said, not out of ego, but out of love, knowing that memory would keep his presence alive, his love active, his truth relevant. When you remember with love, Jesus whispers, you make the past present. You keep relationships alive. You honor what has been while building what will be. I am grateful for hope, Jesus continues, and his voice rings with triumph, with certainty, with unshakable confidence. For the human heart's refusal to surrender to despair, for the soul's insistence that better days are coming, for the Spirit's conviction that love will ultimately win. Hope, he says with growing strength, is not wishful thinking. It is prophetic vision. It sees what is coming because it knows who is in control. He speaks of hope as an anchor, steady in the storm, secure in uncertainty, reliable when everything else shifts. Hope, Jesus whispers, is my gift to those who trust me, my promise to those who follow me, my assurance to those who love me. No matter how dark the night, morning is coming. No matter how fierce the storm, peace is on the horizon. No matter how deep the valley, the mountain top awaits. The gentle sound of night continues around you, a symphony of peace, of rest, of quiet joy. I am thankful for faith, Jesus says, his voice filled with wonder, for the miracle of trust, for hearts that believe when eyes cannot see, for souls that step forward when the path is unclear, for spirits that hold on when letting go would be easier. He speaks of faith as small as a mustard seed, yet powerful enough to move mountains, of faith that sees the invisible, believes the impossible, hopes for the incredible. Faith, he whispers, is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting the one who does. It is not about seeing the whole staircase. It is about taking the next step. It is not about understanding everything. It is about knowing someone who does. I am grateful for love, Jesus says. And now his voice carries the full weight of eternity, the complete depth of divine affection, the total commitment of heavenly devotion. Not just the love I give, but the love you share, the love that flows between hearts, the love that conquers fear, the love that builds bridges, the love that heals wounds, the love that makes all things new. He speaks of love as the greatest force in the universe, more powerful than death, stronger than hatred, deeper than despair. Love, he whispers, is not just what I do. It is who I am. It is not just my message. It is my essence. It is not just my teaching. It is my very being. And when you love, his voice grows tender beyond measure. You become like me. You reflect my nature. You carry my presence into the world. The stars seem to pulse with gentle light, as if they are the very heartbeat of heaven, as if all creation is joining this moment of profound thanksgiving. I am grateful, Jesus says, his voice now barely audible, intimate as a whisper between lovers, for you, for this very moment, for your willingness to listen, to receive, to be present with me in this sacred exchange. You, he continues, and you can feel his eyes upon you, filled with infinite love, endless acceptance, complete understanding, are not an accident, not a mistake, not an afterthought. You are precious, beloved, chosen, created with intention, designed with purpose, loved beyond measure. He speaks to you of the day you were born, how heaven rejoiced, how angels sang, how his heart leaped with joy. I have been with you, he whispers, in every moment, through every trial, during every triumph, beside every tear, celebrating every joy. You are never alone, never forgotten, never abandoned. You are held, cherished, treasured beyond your ability to understand. I am thankful for your struggles. Jesus continues, his voice carrying deep compassion. For they have made you strong for your sorrows, for they have made you compassionate for your questions, for they have made you seek for your doubts, for they have made your faith more real. Everything in your life, he whispers, has been working together for good, weaving together into a tapestry of beauty, creating a story of redemption. The night air seems to shimmer with presence, with love made tangible, with grace made manifest. I am grateful for your future, Jesus says, his voice bright with anticipation, for all that is yet to come, for dreams yet to be fulfilled, for purposes yet to be revealed, for joys yet to be experienced, for love yet to be shared. Your story, he whispers, is far from over. The best chapters are still being written. The greatest adventures still lie ahead. He speaks of plans he has for you, plans for hope and a future, plans birthed in love, nurtured in wisdom, guaranteed by his faithfulness. Trust me, he whispers, with your tomorrows, with your hopes, with your fears, with your dreams. I am already there, preparing the way, arranging the details, working all things together for your good and my glory. I am thankful, Jesus says, his voice now carrying the warmth of concluding benediction. For this moment we have shared, for these words spoken in love, for this communion of hearts, for this exchange of grace. You came seeking, he whispers, and you have found. You came listening, and you have heard. You came hungry, and you have been fed. The gentle breeze carries with it a sense of completion, of fulfillment, of sacred satisfaction. As you go from this place, Jesus says, his voice like a blessing upon your soul, carry with you this spirit of thanksgiving, this heart of gratitude, this awareness of blessing. See with eyes that notice beauty, hear with ears that catch whispers of grace, feel with a heart that recognizes love in all its forms. Remember, he whispers, his voice growing fainter as if he is slowly moving away, yet somehow growing closer to your heart. That gratitude is not just an attitude. It is a way of life. It is not just a feeling. It is a choice. It is not just a response to blessing. It is a key that unlocks even greater blessing. Give thanks, he says softly, in all circumstances, for this is my will for you, not because everything is good, but because I am working in everything for good, not because everything is perfect, but because I am perfect, and I love you perfectly, and I am working all things together for your ultimate joy. The water continues its eternal song. The stars maintain their ancient vigil. The night holds you in its peaceful embrace. I am with you always, Jesus whispers, his voice now like an echo from eternity, like a promise written on the wind. Even to the end of the age, you are never alone, never forgotten, never beyond my love, never outside my care. When you wake tomorrow, he says, his voice like morning light just beginning to dawn. Remember this conversation, carry this gratitude, live this thanksgiving. Be a blessing to others as you have been blessed. Love as you have been loved. Give as you have received. Forgive as you have been forgiven. Night air grows quiet, peaceful, complete. And know, Jesus whispers, his final words settling into your heart like seeds in fertile soil, that this is just the beginning, that there is so much more to be grateful for, so much more love to experience, so much more joy to discover, so much more life to live. This Thanksgiving, his voice fades to barely audible, yet somehow burns brighter in your heart, is eternal, never ending, always growing, always deepening, always revealing new reasons for gratitude, new causes for celebration, new opportunities for praise. The gentle sound of water continues. The stars continue their silent dance. The night continues its peaceful watch, and in your heart, the words echo, "Sit down. I want to tell you what I'm thankful for, and you understand now." That Thanksgiving is not just something you do. It is something you become, not just something you feel, but something you are, not just a response to blessing, but a way of being blessed and being a blessing to others. The conversation fades, but the gratitude remains. The presence withdraws, but the love stays. The words conclude, but the truth endures. And you sit in the peaceful aftermath, heart full, spirit grateful, soul overflowing with thanksgiving, knowing that you have been loved, known, cherished, and blessed beyond measure. In the gentle silence that follows, you can still feel him near, still sense his smile, still hear the echo of his words. I am grateful for you, floating on the night air, settling into your soul, becoming part of who you are, and you realize that being the object of divine gratitude, the focus of heavenly thanksgiving, the reason for eternal joy, is the greatest blessing of all. The night embraces you, the peace surrounds you, the love fills you, and thanksgiving, true thanksgiving, becomes not just what you feel, but who you are, not just what you express, but how you live, not just a moment in time, but an eternal way of being, blessed and grateful, loved and loving, known and knowing. held in the heart of the one who is thankful beyond words, beyond measure, beyond time for you.